Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Hawaiiverse podcast, a podcast that supports local by starting every conversation with someone new saying, "Hey, so where you grad?" I'm your host, Kamaka Diaz, and our guest today actually graduated from the same high school as me. Before we introduce our very impressive guest, I need to tell you about this week's local business giveaway provided by Kolohe, a handmade jewelry experience-based boutique. They are giving away $200 to their custom jewelry bar. Head to Hawaiiverse on Instagram to enter. So our guest today is actually providing that giveaway and is the CEO and founder of Kolohe. She is a Filipino-Chinese entrepreneur from the island of Oahu and became the youngest store owner in Waikiki at the age of 21. Among her many accomplishments at such a young age, such as being recognized as Student Entrepreneur of the Year by the Pacific Asian Center of Entrepreneurship in 2018, and the Hawai'i Venture Capital Association in 2019. She is also a first-generation college graduate. This award-winning entrepreneur and jewelry designer is taking the business world by storm and has been featured in many prestigious magazines such as Hawaii Business Magazine and Kawaiʻola Magazine. I'm honored to have her on the podcast. Her name is Rose Wong. Aloha, Rose. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't put any more because I was running out of breath.
I know, that was really good.
You have so many accomplishments at such a young age, and
Thank you.
It's very impressive. And I'm honored to have you on the podcast. Yeah, we've met before, so this is our first time getting to talk story and really dive into your life story.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And I'm such a fan of you and your family and Kanoe. And so I'm very excited to be here as well.
Mahalo. Yeah, my little sister, she has modeled some jewelry for Kolohe, which till this day I'm confused as why, because I like to think that I'm the model of the family, but Rose still hasn't asked me, so it's fine.
One day.
Yeah, but I know you always bring the heat when you dress anywhere. And the first time we met, we did a Hawaiiverse spotlight video because Kolohe is on Hawaiiverse. You know, I just felt so underdressed. So I had to wear a collared shirt for the first time on the Hawaiiverse podcast, shoes for the first time this year, not even on the podcast.
I feel so honored.
But the cool thing is, I couldn't just wear regular shoes. I had to wear these Heelys. Look at these. You hear that?
He's bringing them back.
Yeah. So I just wanted to do that and tell everybody about my Heelys. That's all. The only 28-year-old that would brag about their Heelys.
I love it.
All right. So back to you. Before we get started, I just want to know where you're from. What was it like growing up? And of course, where you grad.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in Hawaii Kai, and I homeschooled actually until the 5th grade. And then I went to Wailupe Elementary School, but the school was so small that it ended up closing that year because I had only about 10 other students in my class. Oh. And then right before that, my parents got divorced. And so my dad actually got remarried to a woman who had 5 kids, and I have 7 siblings. So we were in a household of 15. So I grew up with chaos, which is why I love entrepreneurship. And then after that, I went to New Valley, and then I went to Kaiser High School, graduated 2016, and then I went to UH Manoa, got my degree in marketing, and graduated 2020, right in the start of COVID.
Oh, wow. And so you already opened up your jewelry shop when you were still in college?
I opened up my first store in 2019. So I was a senior at UH Manoa.
When I was a senior at UH Manoa, I was just trying to figure out what major to declare. I don't even know how they let me go so long without declaring a major.
Well, look where you are now. Everyone has their different journeys.
Yeah. It's so crazy that you come from that background where you had 15 people in a house. So did you have your own room? What was that dynamic like?
No, I never had my own room until I moved out of my house when I was 19 years old. And so... yeah, I always love to share the story about my family not because it's a sob story, but because it's part of me, and it's something that I overcame. And it really is the whole reason why Kolohe started. And I think it's just so special to share those experiences because I think it's really beautiful when you can turn something negative into something beautiful and positive. And so I always like to say, my struggle turned into my story. And so growing up, we grew up with, one time I had 9 brothers at one point, so it was very chaotic, our household, all the time. And my stepmom and I didn't always have the best relationship, and so I was actually kicked out of my house when I was in the 8th grade. and I lived with my best friend and her family for about 2 years. And so that's really how everything started. My family couldn't ever afford to give us an allowance. And so I remember seeing, how a lot of my older brothers went out and they were forced to go into military or work restaurant jobs. They didn't get a chance to finish their high school diploma even. And a lot of them had to get their GEDs. Growing up, my mom, she was homeless for a long time. And I remember one day, and I specifically remember this day very, very vividly, where I was just like, there's got to be something else for us. There's got to be something more for myself and for my younger siblings. And so I made it a point and I said, okay, I'm going to put myself through college. My family can't afford it, but I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to put myself through college. And I ended up getting my first job when I was 15 years old. And so back then you had to get like a very special permit because it's not even legal for a 15-year-old to work like a normal person. And so I remember getting my my special permit, and my first job was at Kozo Sushi.
Oh, I love Kozo Sushi. The one in Coco Marina?
Coco Marina, yeah.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time during my lunch break when I worked at the theaters.
Oh, nice.
Oh, probably.
I think I definitely. That's why you look so familiar.
That's probably it. That's so crazy. We probably
talked to each other. I feel like I
would
remember.
always go there and get the dragon maki.
Yes. I was the one making that.
That's so funny. Because when I saw you on Instagram last year when I was looking for businesses for Hawaiiverse, I always thought you looked familiar. And I thought just because you went to Kaiser, but we went at different times.
Yeah.
So that's probably it. It was Kozo Sushi.
Definitely. Okay, we uncovered something here.
That's so funny. Yeah, when I was working at the theater, actually my last day, right before I left to the Peace Corps, I convinced my boss to let me wear the Heelys.
Of course you did. Of course you did. It's all coming full circle.
Yeah, that's so funny. Wow, what a crazy discovery.
So I remember working at Kozo Sushi, and back then minimum wage was like $7 an hour. So I remember I have a photo of my first paycheck because I was so proud of it. I worked like crazy hours, and it was only about like $200, but I was like, yeah, I made my first like dollar, and so I learned the importance of hard work at a very young age, and I think that's what carries my business through. And I was always very interested in doing things. I was never very interested in, what everyone else my age was doing. And so that's why I got into entrepreneurship. And between the ages of 15 and 16, I had about 8 different jobs because I was trying to figure out what I like to do. So I worked at anywhere from a gourmet popsicle company. I was making the popsicles for them, selling at the pop-ups. I thought I wanted to work with kids, so I went to an A+ after school program. Didn't necessarily like working with kids. So then I went to a retirement home, and I was working with elderly people. Didn't necessarily like working with elderly people, and so I jumped around between a bunch of different jobs. And I was at, somehow I convinced Maggie of Magnolia to hire me when I was 16 years old. I think I was the youngest one she's hired. Wow. And back then, the hourly was a little more than minimum wage. And I remember I was always really good at selling the jewelry. And I love the process and the special storyline behind what jewelry means for someone, and that everyone can be part of it. So we had like dads coming in to get gifts. We had girls coming in to buy jewelry for themselves. We had mothers coming in, young people coming in, older people coming in. And I was making that hourly, and I saw that the jewelry pieces were being sold for at least $60, $60 and up. And so that's when I said, okay, I want to do that. So I remember I took $50, which back then as a 16-year-old was so much money. I went to Ben Franklin. I got some really rinky-dink tools, gold-plated metals, and I made my first pieces of really ugly jewelry. I still kept them to this day. And I remember bringing them home, and my sisters were just so supportive and so encouraging. And so I started selling them on at Kaiser's Facebook group.
Oh, and no way.
It just started kind of snowballing from there. And then my dad, he's an entrepreneur himself too. He had his own tour company. And he actually hooked me up with Alec from Aloha Pearls. And so Alec and Maggie from Magnolia were kind of like my mentors at that time. And, I wasn't interested in what kids my age were doing, but I was so interested in what these business owners were doing for some reason. I always wanted to look forward and move forward. So that's kind of the people that I surrounded myself with at a young age. And I remember my first break with Alec, he wanted me to wrap sunrise shells. And he was paying me like $1. He wanted to pay me like $1 per sunrise shell to wrap them. And I remember my first negotiation was on a flip phone because that was still a thing.
I had a sidekick.
When I was in high school, and I was texting him, and I was like, oh, how about $2? So I got him to get it up to $2, wow. And that's how I bought my first car. And so that's kind of where it all started. And then it just continued to spiral.
Wow. Rose, that's super, 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 super amazing. And I think the most inspiring thing about you and your story is that you worked for everything. Nothing was handed to you. You would hear, oh, I grew up in Hawaii Kai. You know, people think.
I get that all the time.
It's like, oh, you had it given to you.
Yeah,
right?
no, we always lived in like the cheapest house. It was nice, but we were very privileged to be able to do that. You know, so I do thank my parents for that. But yeah, whenever I tell people, oh, I'm from Hawaii Kai, they always
give you the looks, right?
Yeah, they give me the looks. I'm like, no, I had 15 people in one house, never had my own room, never got money, never had new clothes, didn't even have my own phone. So
how did you get around before you had a car? Just bus?
I would bus. Yep, I would bus everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at Kaiser, I had to bus to some places or just caught rides. And then when I was at the theater, I think I used my grandma's car.
Yep.
I think that's what it was. So a lot of support over there. But I didn't actually realize the stigma everybody had of Hawaii Kai until I was in college.
Yeah,
because I'm from the Big Island, so I only went there my senior year. To live with my auntie at that time. And then I remember going to college, and you know, when you introduce yourself, you're like, oh, I'm from, you know, this place. And I said, oh yeah, I live in Hawaii Kai. And they're like, oh, Hawaii Kai.
I know.
And I would be confused because like we don't have a nice fancy house.
Yeah, exactly.
And, we don't have a lot of money, and I would just be so confused. And I'm like, oh, okay, because Hawaii Kai is like the rich part of Oahu. That's what it's known for. Yeah. And I always tell them, you know, the nice fancy houses up on the hills, we live under that.
Yeah, exactly, right? We were always in my auntie's house who was renting it to us. But it was a really good place to grow up, and so I think we are blessed to have experienced that during our childhood.
Yeah. Where do you think your work ethic came from? I mean, I guess your dad, maybe?
I think it runs in my family that we have a hard time listening to people. So,
my dad... We'll get into that after.
Yes, we'll get into that. And so my dad, he had his own tour company, and it was always his dream to run his own business. He always did our family on his side always owned the golf courses. And then I think something happened with the mainland company buying it out, and he finally had the opportunity to do his own business. And so he did that. So I think we kind of knew that we could always do something. I think what my dad really did was he didn't try to push anything on me. He kind of just said, all right, you're your own person. You do whatever, you know, and he really just let me be. And I think that really helped me develop my own values and explore the world, see what works, see what doesn't work. So I was able to test these things without having limitations or perspectives from a parent figure kind of hounding down on me. Yeah. So I think that was a very, very unique thing. And, you know, I'm thankful to my dad for it. And I used to be angry about it, like, oh, no one's helping me. Like, why am I doing this all on my own? But I'm very grateful for everything looking back at it. And so I think my ethic comes from me just being so driven to make my own mark and to take control of what happens in my life, and then to also show that to others, because I think it's so easy to just get caught up in everything and, you know, what society says and what everyone else says and all of that. So I think I was really able to explore my own values, and I think what I found that worked was entrepreneurship and paving my own way. And every day is a learning lesson, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know yourself that you just learn something different every day. And I think I just take those lessons and I keep building and building and building and just slowly working on my character and my business and where we want to take everything. So I think what's really special is people always ask me like, oh, how did you start the business? How did you think to even do that? I think what I recognize at Magnolia is I have an eye for opportunity. So opportunity in situations, opportunity in jewelry, opportunity in people, because now our business runs because of all the people that run it. I'm just a part of it, you know, but it's my team now that's bringing it farther and farther. So I think it was really an eye for opportunity. Yeah, that's amazing. I think being able to capitalize on those opportunities is so important. And, you know, people say that some people might look at certain things and be like, oh, they're lucky, you know, they had all these things. But really what luck is, it's when preparation meets opportunity. Yes. So that's exactly what you capitalize and you realize at that time. And it's so cool that growing up, it really taught you to be independent. Yeah. An independent thinker, worker, hustler, all of that. And I think a lot of people, even myself, especially young women, they definitely look up to that. Yeah, definitely. And I think we need more women who are empowering that, I think like one thing I grew up with, and I wasn't always so confident in how I carry myself in my values, because I think that there's so much of what society says a female should be like, go on Instagram, be an Instagram model, do all these things, whatever. And I think we need more women who can say, hey, no, you can be known for your smarts, for your intelligence, for your hard work. It's not just your looks or your body. And so that's really what, all of the ladies at Kolohe, we try to showcase that.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll ask you more questions about Kolohe in a bit, but I want to talk about your time at UH because, you kind of went against the grain in the sense of where you wanted to go into entrepreneurship and you didn't really care what people thought. But you also, triple majored?
I was going to
triple major.
And then instead I became the president of the Entrepreneurs Club.
Okay.
And I opened my store. So that was my goal, to triple major. Okay. And then I was like, no, Rose, you're crazy. Why would you sign yourself up for that?
I'm happy you realized it too.
Yeah. But you did your homework. You saw some of my news articles. But yeah, no, I actually went in as a psychology major because I thought that was just such a fascinating major. But then if I wanted to do anything with it, I had to get a master's degree. And I didn't know if I wanted to go to school for that long. And I had my jewelry business. And so, but up until college, I always thought of my jewelry business as a side hustle, side gig. And it wasn't until I became president of the Entrepreneurs Club that I really went full force with it. And so as president, I really loved my time there, and that's where I developed my passion for helping other entrepreneurs and helping the local business community. And that's something that it's really on my heart to return to eventually now that things are opening back up. So I'm really excited for all of that. But during my time there, I put together Hawaii's first student-run boutique at the Ohana Hale Marketplace.
Oh, nice.
I put together markets on campus every week so we can sell our products, and that's how we fundraised. And then we brought together workshops and founders and speakers. We did company tours, and I just really loved that environment. And then that's also where I got to do a lot of pitch programs. And so that's where I found my love for public speaking, but it wasn't always love. I remember my first pitch program I did, I was a freshman, and I got selected to go to WeBank, which is a Women's Business Enterprise National Council. This one, it was being held in Vegas. So they only choose about 20 female students from around the nation to participate, and I was one of them. And it's a big, Fortune 500 collaboration and conference. And so the pitch was in front of all these huge CEOs, high-level CEOs, FedEx, Walmart, Fortune 500 businesses. And I was working on a different idea then, even though I had my jewelry business.
This is a business pitch?
Yes, business pitch. Okay. I was working on a different idea. It was a tech idea, and I froze up. And I froze up, and I didn't place. And so afterwards, I went home, and I was like, okay, Rose, we're never going to do that again. We're going to practice. We're going to get this public speaking thing down. And so I was always, that nerdy girl in college who was speaking in front of the lecture classes about my business club. And I would speak in front of 100 to 300 students. But for me, I was testing because it's just college students. So I was just testing and practicing my public speaking. And then after that, I entered another pitch competition. We won championship. And then I entered a few more. We placed. And then that's when I got all the awards, all the awards and recognition for what I did in the local business community. And then that's actually how our branding started and my name started to develop in the community. So the Alohilani Hotel, the lease agent there actually reached out to me after the big renovation from the old Pacific Hawaiian Beach Hotel. And so he said, hey, we have this 2-month summer pop-up. Do you want to test it out? And so I said, I was a senior in college, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, but yes, let's do it. And so that's kind of how the store started because of all the branding, going back to your question, that I did at UH Manoa. So I didn't learn so much from my classes necessarily. I didn't get along with a lot of my professors. And I always did everything unconventionally.
Yeah.
And just because of, what we did in college, that's why our branding just flourished and stood out from all these other jewelry companies, because we weren't just a jewelry company, but we had that entrepreneurial side backed to it as well.
It's funny you said that you didn't get along with your
Is that you too?
No, I was growing up. I was a Kolohe kid.
Okay.
When I was a child, but then I ended up being very, a good student. But it's funny because you're so sweet. I would never expect you to, be this rebel.
Well, I was always the one, like, for example, one of my marketing classes, the whole point of the marketing class was to get an internship. So I was always the one working on my business, raising my hand, saying, okay, well, what if I don't want an internship? I'm going to intern at, I interned at my company for my internship hours.
Yeah.
And I was always the one asking these, hard questions. And she said, no, we need to stick to the curriculum. You need to get this internship. You need to make your LinkedIn page, yada, yada.
That student.
Yeah, and I was like, well, what if I want to do something else, So...
That's so cool. I love that because you kind of, in the school system, it's very structured, right? And you're not allowed to question things or do things that isn't part of the curriculum. So it's so cool that you just kind of, in a sense, rebelled or kind of created your own path.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's where the name Kolohe kind of comes from, right?
Yes. So Kolohe, for those of you who don't know, means rascal in Hawaiian. And I started the business when I was 16 because I thought, and I chose the name Kolohe because I thought it was just a cute word. It kind of represented me. It was a little, it was just different, And then throughout the years, the business actually started as Kolohe Ocean Gems. Throughout the years, I tried to change the name because Kolohe Ocean Gems was too long. No one could remember it. It's 6 syllables. So it eventually just changed to Kolohe. And I tried to change that name so many different times, but I couldn't think of anything else. And so the meaning kind of just grew into this beautiful thing of being unique and different, challenging norms, thinking outside of the box, being unconventional. So I like to say it means being like a good Kolohe, a good rascal in the community. And it kind of just stuck. We've built this luxury business off of the name Kolohe, rascal, and people love it.
Yeah, and it's cool that it's a Hawaiian word and you get to educate people on the meaning of it, but also you kind of have your own twist on it, which is super cool. And I love the positive spin on it because, you think about Kolohe and it's like, oh, that kid is so Kolohe, you're going to get lickings.
Exactly.
But, now it's like, oh, Kolohe could be a good thing. It could be a thinking outside of the box.
Exactly.
And I feel like entrepreneurs, a lot of us are Kolohe because what entrepreneurship is seeing a problem and trying to solve it, right? And thinking outside of the box.
Being different.
Yeah, exactly. And just like when you grew up and you going to college, you figured out a lot of things that you didn't like. And I think that's so important. It's just as important as finding what you do like.
Yes, definitely. You make a very good point.
Yeah, and because a lot of people, they're doing things they don't like for years and years. So the sooner you find out what that is. But the only way to do that is by doing.
Testing it. Yeah. Testing it, figuring it out, refining it. Definitely.
Yeah, so you were never scared to fail or, just take on these big projects?
I was, but so me opening my store during COVID was kind of a test because I've always followed my gut and I've always been kind of risky with these things. So I was thinking, okay, Rose, this is going to be your riskiest move now, still controlled, but would be your riskiest move. And so I used that as a test to show myself, hey, I should keep doing that. Or no, maybe you should pull back a little, Rose. And it passed the test. So me opening a store in COVID, hiring all these employees, investing into a store, building out the inventory was me testing myself of, okay, do I keep following this risky gut feeling that I have, or do I try to do things a little differently? And so that was the whole reason. And we really wanted to do something positive at that time because there was just so much negativity when COVID first started in 2020 and throughout the last few years. And so I just wanted to do something positive for me, for my bubble, for the community, for my employees, my team, giving everyone something positive to work on and look forward to during that time. So that was my big test. And it was really scary, and it still is scary a lot of the times, but I think we've gotten better. And it's the same thing as you just got to test, right? So we've done so much testing that we know what happens if we fall back on something, if we fall short on something. We know exactly what to do or how to narrow it and how to shift through and navigate it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what happens is a lot of people are afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And failure is not your enemy.
No.
Failure is your best friend because it teaches you so much. And it's really just how you get up and you keep going after that failure.
Yeah, definitely. Life is just a bunch of big failures, and
exactly.
quicker you can figure out how to navigate towards them and shift through them and turn them into your successes, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, and at a young age, like what you did, being fearless, and I'm sure you were scared, right? But you didn't let that fear affect you, right? You still went for it and you took a risk. And I think at a young age, you have to take these risks. I mean,
especially while I'm young. I don't have a family to worry about. I don't
Yeah.
have a mortgage yet. I have the energy to do it all, so I might as well do it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's always been my thought process behind it.
Okay. Yeah. So you grew up really quick, just with the entrepreneur life, and then even your family having to kind of fend for yourself. Do you ever think that you kind of missed out on certain things in childhood, like maybe playing sports or like, you know, in college, say you were very, you know, just strict and work, business.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you couldn't enjoy more of the social life, like partying or whatever.
I thought about that, and I do, and I always go back to, you know, partying and all of that. It doesn't very much interest me, and I think a lot of people use that as an exploration of themselves or trying to fill something. And no, I never once thought, you know, I'm missing out on this because I'm just not very interested in it. I haven't really been. I do like to drink wine sometimes. I will go to events, you know, and I do like to enjoy my time with friends, definitely. But I was never good at sports. I can surf. That's about as much sports as I could do. I used to dance hula. But no, I think it depends, you know, where your interests are, and everyone has different journeys. And, you know, my journey is not going to be the right path for someone else and vice versa. And so I think it really just depends on what journey you're on for yourself. And I love what I'm able to do because now I'm able to enjoy those things and have some more of my freedom now versus going through those things as a kid. And so I enjoy it. Yeah.
I love that. I was similar to you where I didn't care about all that stuff. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I would go to parties or just hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
And people would always ask, like, how are you over here sober? Are you having fun? How do you have fun? But I love just the social interaction with people. But that's kind of what networking is as an adult, right?
Yes.
Is where you're just hanging out with people and you're networking. So that's kind of what I realized recently is like, oh, hanging out as an adult is just networking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just harder when you go to the like these happy hours and everybody's ordering beers and you're just like, I'll take a water.
Yeah.
But I'm the Didi, Kamaka Didi Diaz, available at your service.
You heard it, everyone. Call him out.
Yeah. 808-99 never mind.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. So during the pandemic, you opened your second store, right? Mm-hmm. How crazy was that, and were you affected at all with the lack of customers, visitors? Because you're in Waikiki, right? So I feel like a lot of the customers are tourists, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like?
We were completely affected by it. And we were affected by it, but we didn't let it affect our optimism or our big goals. And there were a few months where we, like, for example, when we first opened the store, I was trying to go after new concepts, not using the Kolohe branding. I was trying to open up as Oasis by Kolohe, create a whole new luxury concept. And it didn't work because, one, you're in the middle of COVID, Rose. And two, people love your Kolohe branding. Just use your Kolohe branding. And so those few months where we were trying to this new concept, those were the rough months. As soon as we switched to the Kolohe branding, people loved it. And luckily, you know, the waves of the pandemic, it kind of came in waves. So obviously, like the first few months of 2021 were slow. And then March time, when things started, people thought it was going to ease up a little bit. We had a spring in tourism. And so March and the summertime was very busy for us. And then come again October, September, when the new regulations were put in place for tourism here in Hawaii, then that's when it started to get slow again. Luckily, our team is very nimble. We're very flexible. We pivot when we need to. We grew our online channel, and we kind of depended on that. And so if we didn't do those things in COVID, we would have never thrived in the way that we did. So in a way, COVID has allowed Kolohe to thrive in a way. Of course, it would have been, you know, way easier probably without COVID, because that was when I first opened my store, 2019. And I was on like cloud 9. Everything was going so great. The Alohilani is a gorgeous hotel. We had international people from all over. Our best month was January, February, and March. March is when
2020.
everything...
Oh, 2019.
2020.
Oh, 2020.
March
okay.
is when everything closed down.
Mm-hmm.
And right before that, we had our best months. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this had come at this time.
I know.
But it was okay because I was determined to still make it work. We still had our office downtown. So we just went online. And then when we had the opportunity to open in COVID, I took that also as a brand strategy because it was good storyline. And we just flourished from there. Mm. So we made the best of it. We always tried our best to take care of our employees throughout it. We learned a lot of lessons, of course, but we survived. And I remember at that time, everyone was saying, if your business can survive COVID, you can survive anything. And so here I was, little Rose, like, okay, then I got to make this happen. I got to make this happen. And that's what we did.
You're the rose that bloomed through the concrete.
Exactly. There you go. I like that.
That's super cool. And we're going to get into Instagram questions soon, but I want to ask you about the women empowerment factor of your business, because your team consists of very strong women and only women, right?
Yes, and we have one, my brother, Ramsey, who works Saturday nights at our store.
Okay.
We have one guy, and Kyle.
Okay, but so I guess like the face, the
and the
main,
executive team, the
CEO,
the executives are all women.
All those positions that you most likely would think are men, but they're women, right? So why did you want to put an emphasis on that?
I think it was. I mean, our team is just so amazing, and I wanted to support other people just like me. And for me, growing up, there weren't a lot of other people who were as driven or who wanted to just spend time working on something that they were so passionate about. So as soon as I saw that in someone, I was like, okay, we're going to be friends.
Just gravitated towards them.
We're going to do something together one day. And so first that started with Megan, and then that started with Faith. And since then, since our executive team finalized and teamed up, the business just skyrocketed. And I think it's really important to showcase to other people that, young people can have a good name in entrepreneurship. You can start something different. You can be different. You can dare to go after these big dreams. And I saw that in Megan and in Faith. I mean, I knew we could all support each other in that and push each other. And it was selfish of me because I really just wanted to be around other people like that. It was so hard to find other people like that. And so that's why I gravitated towards them, for their determination and their passion and their fieriness, but also for the grace that they have and their values. Because I think it's really hard to find people with values like that. So as soon as I find someone like that, I'm just going to grab you and, hold on to you. And I think that's what really made Kolohe the business that it is today. It's those two ladies that I work with.
Yeah, and so what would you say makes a Kolohe lady? And what sense sets Kolohe apart from the others?
So our tagline has always been passionate, poised, and persistence. What I look for when I hire people is how you carry yourself, both on social media, both in person. And you have a gut feeling of someone in the first 14 seconds.
So you're not, speaking to you.
Yeah, exactly. You have a gut feeling of someone. And what we look for is that big fieriness that I had as a young entrepreneur. And so that's what I always try to look for when I'm, looking for candidates to join our team. But I'm very, very blessed, very proud of our team. And we're all in our 20s. And it's just amazing to see how far we've brought the business. We have 2 stores in Waikiki. We have our office downtown. We have our online channel. We just did our first national pop-up. And that is purely ran on 20-year-olds, female 20-year-olds.
That's amazing.
All local.
I love it.
And so I think it's a really great, story to showcase to others and to just show the community.
Yeah. And did you have a lot of people, female role models, figures that you looked up to growing up? Because I feel like you are that to some younger girls right now. That's really cool to think about, right? Yeah.
Honestly, the honest answer is I did not. And I think maybe that's why, I'm so driven to become that. And maybe it's just that, these females are more low key. So they're not on social media where we see a lot of females in the community. And honestly, no, I had a lot of male mentors. And I was very lucky to have them. But we were just talking about this the other day, how there's not a lot of just someone so, there's not someone like that, or I haven't found them yet. There are really a lot of amazing women-led businesses here, and I love learning about them. But yeah, personally, me, for growing up, I never had a strong, dominant female figure in my life. I love listening to Michelle Obama and her podcasts, and I think we need more of those female leaders, who have that backing and who have that drive to be that for the younger generation. And so that's what I hope to do with myself, with my team.
Yes, agree to all of it. I also think we need more men willing to support these women and be okay with them taking the role, the lead of certain things, and knowing that they are capable, just as capable or more capable of
totally.
Men. So I love what you're doing. I love the female empowerment side of Kolohe.
Thank you.
It's so awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So let's get into Instagram questions.
Okay, awesome.
Tara Sachi wants to know, do you have a morning/nightly routine?
Yes, I do. So every morning I've been trying this new thing because when I wake up, I like to just get going. Some people like read or journal. I like to just get going. So before I touch my...
pop out of bed, just spring up.
Exactly. And so before I touch my phone, I'll do a workout and then to just get my energy levels up. And then I'll make food for myself. It's really important that I get a meal in because I didn't always have a healthy relationship with food. So I incorporated that into my morning routine. I have a little cute Pomeranian puppy. So I do all my morning routines with him, feed him, take him to potty, all that. And then I honestly like to just spring into my day. And so I'll kind of set up the day. I'll block off time in the morning to do some of the deep work tasks because no one's bothering me at that time. So I always try to get up around 6 or 7. And then night routine, I always try to put my phone down at 10 p.m. or 9. And that's when I do things like meditation or journaling, or I'll read a book, listen to binaural beats. So I'm a very spiritual person. So I like doing those things that wind my mind down, especially for sleep. And I think it's just so important to detach yourself from your devices and your phone and Instagram sometimes, even though, when I'm up and it's my work day, I have to use those things. So I have to intentionally set my time.
Yeah, that takes a lot of discipline. And I totally
hard.
relate to that because even I've been through phases where I'm like, I'm not going to touch my phone until I finish a workout.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch my phone until I'm all ready with the day. Because sometimes you just get sucked into it and you start doing other tasks. Not even just scrolling to Instagram, but starting to work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at night I try to say, okay, by 10 o'clock I have my timer on.
Yeah.
I'll try to not go on my phone. I'll start reading so I can wind down. But it takes a lot.
It really does, and it's hard to keep it consistent.
Yes,
especially in today's world. So
there's just
kudos
so
to
much.
you too.
Oh, me, no, I fail all the time. I'm not saying that I do it. I think during my race to 50K, when I was doing my student loans, I was just an animal. I was just disciplined.
Yeah. At least you know when you need to turn it on.
Exactly.
And when you can be a little more lenient with yourself. That takes a lot of willpower and discipline.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think right now I can be a little bit more lenient with myself because it's not super necessary to wake up every day at 6 o'clock.
Yes. And I think it's good to have that balance,
Yeah, that's a very good point. But self-discipline is a very interesting concept too because it's basically you're not giving yourself what you want.
Yes.
It's telling you have these desires and you're just like, no. Like, I want to eat this pizza. No. Do you have any tips of how to be disciplined? Like, what?
When I catch
it's very hard.
Yeah, when I catch myself in phases where I'm starting to procrastinate or do something, I do this exercise where, when I think, I should be doing this, I just immediately do it. I don't even give myself time to think about it. I just immediately do it. And then that gets me back into the habit of being more self-disciplined. For me, journaling, I love journaling because I think that's a place where you can reflect on all these things that you need to be disciplined on. And it all starts with reflection. And then that's where you can refine, right? You can refine your systems. You can refine your discipline. You can refine what you need to work on. And so I think it's a lot of self-exploration and also having a really good support group. So my boyfriend, Kyle, he tells me just blatantly, hey, Rose, you need to do this, or hey, Rose, I think you're burning yourself out or something like that. So I think having a good support system to catch yourself is really good. And then it really is just, putting yourself in that environment and making sure you have time for yourself to journal, to meditate, to reflect.
Yeah. I think what you said, the keyword is environment.
Yes.
Is creating a very productive and no distraction environment.
Even making sure your space is clean. So my house, like I cannot have it cluttered. It's spotless. I think even like that's another hack. Just clean your room and you'll feel so much better. Like
cleaning's therapeutic.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you read the book Atomic Habits?
No, I've heard about it. Yes.
I have it if you want to. I just finished it.
Oh, really? How did you like it?
I liked it. I mean, it kind of, I think for people like us, we kind of already have those disciplines.
Yeah.
But I think it's nice to hear it reiterated. And it's kind of like, it's a book where you can practice as well. So there's actual practices that you can implement while you're reading it in your life. So it's a really cool book, and it just talks about discipline and building habits and creating your environment. Yeah, which makes it easier.
I think it's completely also like who you surround yourself with.
Definitely.
If they're not disciplined, you're not going to want to be disciplined either. So it's completely your circle.
Yeah, I always say if you surround yourself with 10 alcoholics, you're going to be the 11th one. If you surround yourself with 10 business, CEO, entrepreneur, successful people, then you'll probably be the 11th one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so Kailia W wants to know, how would you describe your dynamic with the team?
I would say our dynamic is very powerful. That's the word I would use to describe it. And we all have our different specialties, and we all have our different personalities, and we let those personalities bloom. So we actually had an intern, Juliet, and she wrote something very, very nice about how we all work together, how the executive team, me, Megan, Faith, works together. And she said something along the lines of, when they're in a room, they're brainstorming, they don't compete in a way that normal women compete with each other. Instead, they ask, they talk, they ask questions, and they develop an idea. They don't shoot down on each other. They try to really get into the nitty-gritty of the best strategy. And I think that's just so special, something that our team is very fortunate to have with each other. And we all know, when we need to rest. So if someone's going on a vacation, we know, okay, we're going to step it up and help out in that role. And we weren't always like that. Only recently, we gave ourselves weekends off. We used to work weekends. We used to work crazy hours. And I think it's amazing that we're going through this experience together and learning together. The dynamic is just very, very powerful. And I think it's so interesting because you don't see that a lot at all. You don't see, this young, dynamic group of entrepreneurs working on a business. And I think it's
putting their egos on the side to work together. That's the hard thing,
Yeah, definitely.
Egos on the side.
And figuring out how to, motivate your team and how to work with your team and manage all the different emotions of the team. And so, everyone, we're very, very lucky to have Megan and Faith.
How would you ever get through conflict if something happens? Like, says Faith and Megan don't agree with something that you say.
I would try to understand it. I trust them. That's the point of having your team. You trust them. So if they're saying something and I'm like, no, that's not right, then I'm going to try to understand it from their perspectives. And maybe I am wrong, and it's been completely, when I'll ask them something, Faith will just completely say no. Megan will say, oh, maybe we do this. So
is Faith the more direct one?
She is the more direct. She's the direct. She's the fiery one, and I love it. It's so refreshing, and it's very challenging at times.
Keeps you in check.
Yes, but I love it, and I think she really pushes the business forward in a unique way. And then Megan's kind of the more, she's so compassionate and so caring, and she's just amazing in everything that she does. And she's one of those people that you can really tell are listening to you. And I think it's important to have that person because for our team, and she's really headed a lot of taking care of our team, training our team. And so, the team is just really amazing.
Awesome. It's great to have a nice team. Yeah. Shout out to my team at Hawaiiverse.
Yes, definitely. I know a lot of the people on Hawaiiverse, and they're really amazing as well.
Yeah, you and Jared were kind of in that business world together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, happy birthday, Jared. It's Jared's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Jared. March babies.
We're recording this on March 10, so this won't be out until later, but happy birthday today on March 10, not when you're listening to this.
Happy birthday, Jared.
All right, Jade Mahoy wants to know, what were some setbacks that you've experienced and how did you overcome them?
I think one of the setbacks that I can immediately think of is COVID. And during that time, everything was really hard, but we remained optimistic. And then I think another setback was during COVID, my first time hiring a bigger team. I wanted to give jobs to everyone in COVID, and it got very emotional for me when it shouldn't have. And I thought, oh, everyone's going to want to work on a startup. But these people, some of them just wanted jobs. Some of them just wanted to clock in, clock out. And I got very personal because I thought that's what everyone wanted. So I assumed. And I wasn't very thorough with the hiring process. So, for example, one person who moved here, he moved here from Pennsylvania, and he actually came into our store to give his resume. And I was like, oh, that's so refreshing. He's coming in store to give his resume to us. We hired him on an independent contractor agreement. And I wasn't very thorough with my contracts, which I should have been, because the last month it was a whole thing where I had to go to small claims court because he didn't do the work that was in the contract. So we didn't want to pay him the money that was in the contract. And so I think that was a big lesson of how to hire, how to not get too personal. Some of the people you have to get personal with, like with Megan and Faith, my executive team, I have to get personal with them. But some people on the team I don't have to get personal with. And yeah, throughout that process of during COVID, I just wanted to give everyone and anyone jobs, but that took a big hit on me and my business. I was too emotional about it. But my mentors always say, hire slow, fire quick. And one of my mentors said, if you have cancer in the company, you got to cut cancer fast. And so because the whole organization depends on your company culture. And so I took a big learning lesson in how I hire people. Before I was like, oh, I can just hire anyone. And I think you're going to be an amazing person. So let's just throw you in. And now the second round of that, of hiring people and hiring this team, we have this just amazing team. We've developed our company culture very well. We know how to interview. We know how to train people. We know how to set the boundaries. We know how to be professional, how to have a strict training process. And so that was a big learning lesson. And then I think another thing that comes to my mind is throughout COVID, we just kind of blew up into this big business. And I didn't take the time to reflect what that meant and set the foundation. So we were exhausted by the end of 2021. Me and my executive team were super exhausted, and that's how we reevaluated everything. We said, okay, we're going to give ourselves weekends off. We're going to try to work business hours. We're not going to try to work, late hours. We just exhausted ourselves, and we weren't prepared for what it meant to become this big business. Like, hey, Rose, you put out your Facebook ads and you want 1,000 orders per day. Do you know what that means for your company? Because then you got to get the fulfillment and the manufacturing and all of this. So our whole thing for 2022 was to set the foundation and get ready for that big boom. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot to handle all at once.
It's a lot.
You're crazy.
Kolohe.
In the best way.
Yes, crazy in the best way.
I'm pretty sure that's a synonym of Kolohe. Wow. Okay. Well, very, very inspirational. A lot of the things you say are just great. It's great advice for aspiring entrepreneurs as well. So make sure you guys take this, write it down, reflect, and implement it in your own lives. Especially with the creating boundaries and setting goals and all these things.
Definitely.
Okay. Low K Sev, low K SCV _ I don't know how to say that. They want to know, how did you know how to do certain things to become successful?
That's a good question. I think it's something that I developed at a young age. So like I said, I was really good at recognizing opportunity. And then you kind of take calculated risk with things. For example, when we're, opening up a store, we budget out exactly how much to put into that store, that if we lost it, it would still be okay. So we kind of always have our legs, So for example, we have our online store, we have our office, we have the Alohilani Hotel, we have our Waikiki Beach Walk location. If one of those legs are out, if Alohilani is slow, we have our other legs. And so having those, different channels, diversifying definitely helped. But his question to how do you do certain things that you know are going to be successful. You just trust your gut. And I think it goes back to all that self-exploration and being confident in yourself, in your values, and also being okay with, hey, if this doesn't work out, that's okay. I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to do better the next time. So I really think it's gaining that confidence in yourself. And if you don't have that confidence, or if you don't know something, you just do your research to figure it out. You talk to people, you brainstorm with people, do as much as you can to figure it out. And that's where you'll find your confidence in doing certain things to become successful.
So confidence is a big thing for you. And that goes with dressing very nicely as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And the jewelry.
And the
jewelry helps a lot.
You mean the décolleté?
The décolleté. Yes, you learned.
I have nothing like that. So does that mean I'm just
No.
I'm confident enough in my Heelys that I don't need my jewelry. So I don't have a gold chain. I don't have a lifted Yoda. I'm going against all things local boys should be doing.
I think that is confidence in itself. That is confidence in itself.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard to find authentic people, and that's why I love you and Kolohe so much, and your family. I think you're just so authentically yourselves.
Mahalo.
Yeah.
That's you're gonna make me cry here on the podcast. I was mentioning Kolohe. She has our last question for the Instagram question section. She wants to know, where do you see Kolohe in the next 10 years?
Ooh, Kolohe, you're trying to get all my secrets. That's a big question, and that's something big that we've been exploring the idea of. When I close my eyes and I think about the ideal situation and setting for Kolohe, it's just fine jewelry, it's diamonds, it's glamorous, it's our white marble floors, it's making sure all of our employees are making these high-end sales. So we started doing wedding rings, actually, this past December. And so exploring into that and into Kolohe as a fine jewelry company, we've explored the idea of opening up in LA next, because we've actually done a pop-up there and it did really, really well. And we wanna give the mainland a taste of Hawaii, taste of Kolohe. So that could be in the plans. And I think, it's hard to, especially what we've seen with COVID, it's hard to have a 10-year plan. And right now, my goal is to build the foundation so that the business is sustainable for that 10 years, because it's really hard for small businesses. And I think you have to figure out those growing pains of becoming a small business to growing into a bigger corporation style business, more formal, that is sustainable even for those 10 years. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're setting our foundation, wedding rings. And I hope, in 10 years, I am still doing podcasts. I hope that I'm still doing speaker series. I hope that I'm giving back to my community in some way because of my business experience. So I've always used Kolohe as a case study. And I love sharing that experience with others. And so I think in 10 years, I would hope that we're just, continuing to do what we do, because we grow tremendously year by year. So that's what you can expect of Kolohe in 10 years, to just keep growing tremendously.
Yeah.
Good question.
Good question. Mahalo for all the Instagram questions, everybody. Make sure you leave some for the next guest. All right. So I wanted to know, there's something that you said over there that I wanted to ask, but now I'm thinking about these. Oh, LA.
Yes.
You talked about LA.
Oh my gosh.
You have
LA.
you have a story about that, right? Your first pop-up in LA. Tell us that story.
Oh my gosh. It was our first pop-up in LA. We decided that on a coin flip.
Oh, really?
Yes. Me, Megan, and Faith, because we were so in between it. We were like, oh, do we go? It's our busy season here. We don't really have the manpower to do it. We'll have to invest a lot into the inventory and all of that. So we just purely flipped a coin. We still have that coin taped up on our brainstorm map for the LA. So that's how we decided to do it.
Great business advice, people. If you can't decide something, you just flip a coin.
Well, it was calculated. We knew we wanted to. It was that fear that was kind of stopping me.
You just need something to push you in that
Faith was like, nope, let's go. Megan was like, I think you should go. And I was like, I don't know. And so we just did a coin flip. And we were all in favor of it, obviously. So we were like, okay, we're going to go and we're just going to test it out. And I texted my brother like the night before, oh, I'm going to LA tomorrow. And he said, oh, can I come with you? So I'm like, okay, I got to go and change our Airbnb, our hotel, so we can all stay in a bigger, nicer one. So usually I do my due diligence. I look at all the reviews. I look at the location. But we were so busy just planning for this pop-up that I didn't do any of that. And so I booked a place downtown LA. And then as soon as I did that, everyone was kind of like, oh, downtown LA, I don't know. And then when we got there, luckily Faith and I, we had our own car. Faith and I were together. My brothers, Royce and Isaiah, were together separately. And then Faith and I were driving there. The closer we got, I didn't know that area at all. There's a lot of like homeless people, unfortunately, nearby. And the deeper in we got, it just got more like that. And I was like, oh, maybe near the city, it'll get better. Like, look at all those buildings.
Try to be optimistic, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's okay. You know, the little Hawaii girl in me, I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know. And so we just got close. And when we parked, we were in our outfits, too. We're in our little cute outfits. So as soon as we parked, there's just this guy that starts running near us. And he's like trying to say something to us. And Faith is like, get back in the car, get back in the car. And she's just like, I have a bad feeling about this because she actually is from San Francisco. She has experience living in the mainland and in cities and areas like that. And she was just like, I have a bad feeling about this. And I'm like, okay, if Faith is saying that, that means something. So we try to find a different parking lot. And we're driving around. And my brother calls me. He's like, Rose, this is right near Hotel Cecil. I'm like, what? What's Hotel Cecil? And he's like, that's one of the most haunted hotels in like the nation, something like that. Have you heard of it before?
No.
You got to look it up now.
I'm going to look it up right now.
There's a whole documentary about it. It's so eerie. And so I'm like, oh, I mean, maybe inside. And this Airbnb that we had didn't have any parking. So it was like literally by, what is it called? It's like something row.
Death Row? No, that's
the movie. Something row. I forget what it's called, but that street is like known for like crime.
Just to put it in context, I just Googled Cecil Hotels. And the first thing that comes up is list of deaths and violence at the Cecil Hotel.
Exactly. And
in downtown Los Angeles.
We're in our little outfits, and me and Faith.
12 horrific incidents that took place at hotels, from murders to celebrity deaths.
Yep, exactly. And we were right across from that.
Wow.
Our place was right across from that. And so I remember me and Faith, we parked, and then we were like, okay, Royce and Isaiah need to watch our inventory. We had like $20,000 worth of inventory on us. They need to stay in this car.
Traveling with jewelry, right?
Yeah, they need to stay in this car and watch our inventory. And then me and Faith will go up by ourselves. And as soon as we just get into that, it's just so sketchy, really sketchy. It smells like drugs, really like just weird people going through there. It felt like a fever dream coming from Hawaii, you know? And we went up, and even the security guard there was just so off-putting. And we asked him to come up with us. And when we went up, the hallway just had a weird feeling to it. And it was so oddly structured where it was like a maze. Super weird. And then, we continued to go up. And just this weird feeling, and he lets us in because I'm like, okay, can you come walk up with us just in case something happens? I don't know, someone snatches us as soon as we open the door or whatever. Oof. And so he opens the door with us. It looks exactly like how it looks in the Airbnb. It's a nice place. And then I just open the window, right? The view is Hotel Cecil, and it just looks so eerie. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. I'm such a scaredy cat of like things like that. I'm like, no, I can't do this. We gotta go. And what's interesting is Faith was on FaceTime with her fiance, Andrew. And Andrew said, he told us this later, he saw like red lights on the wall. And then one of Faith's friends told us later, something for seeing if your Airbnb has cameras in it, you hold the camera up and you can see like hidden cameras if they show up in like red or blue lights, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we were like, okay, we're going to cancel this. Like, this doesn't feel right. My little 15-year-old brother, Isaiah, was with us. I'm like, I can't do this to us. Like, we can't be walking out around this street. And the strange thing is, when I tried to cancel it, they wouldn't give me my refund. And then I started looking and digging deeper into it, and the reviews were really off. The host changed their names multiple times. And so I messaged them. I literally Googled. We were sitting down at dinner after trying to figure out where we're going to sleep for the night. I Googled, what is a lawyer Airbnb called? A lawyer for Airbnb, like weird situations called? It said something like lawyer escrow account, something like that. And so I texted the guy. I said, my dad's a lawyer in escrow accounts. What you're doing is very wrong. It's very dangerous. And I'm going to be filing a report if you don't give me my full refund. And then he just went off at me. He was like, you're so effing immature. Like, don't ever waste my time like this. And it's so weird that they just switched immediately as soon as I threatened that.
Well, they got defensive.
Yeah.
They usually get defensive if something's true.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, something is just seems off. And so we're sitting at dinner and we're like looking on Airbnb, trying to figure out what's available, what hotels are available. And we find this gorgeous, like, pool house in Hollywood Hills, and we just go for it. It was really expensive. It was like $1,000 a night, but we're like, you know what?
Treat yourself after that.
Yeah,
right?
we're like, that was so traumatizing. We just need to like treat ourselves. Somewhere nice, somewhere safe. And then when we go back to that Airbnb, Royce is of course he's watching the Netflix show Hotel Cecil.
Oh my god!
And that house was huge. It had like its own 3 bedrooms. None of us slept in our own rooms that night. And
wait, you ended up staying there that one night?
No. We stayed at no way.
Oh, okay. So
I didn't
same day you just booked it out.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that to my little brother.
And did you get your money back?
We did.
Okay.
Because I threatened him with my dad's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So if you ever get yourself into that situation, no, don't hit me up. Just Google and look for what that lawyer is called.
Oh, I can't just let you do all the work for me?
You can do that too. But yeah, it's, figuring out solutions.
Yeah,
it goes back to the whole entrepreneurial thing. And
very true.
So the first day we set up, there's a lot of things that went wrong. And we were setting up, and then our signage was wrong. It had bubbles in it, blah, blah, blah. All this was happening. And we were like, we just want to go home. And then Felicia, one of my longtime customers who met me on vacation a few years ago, she came, she brought out her friends. And it was just amazing after that point. It was a really very successful pop-up. And people just loved the concept of our custom jewelry bar. And so, that's why we want to explore what that may look like in the future. And that's the whole story of our crazy LA pop-up.
Yeah.
And
but that's not going to deter you from returning, right?
No.
You just know exactly what we were talking about.
We're going to bring...
You know what not to do now.
Exactly. And we're going to bring the guys next time.
Yeah. That's funny. If you need to hire a bodyguard, I have nunchucks as well.
Okay, we're going to hire you.
I have a very cheap rate. Come on, a discount. $200 an hour.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. You just hope you sell a lot of pieces
I
and
know,
have that
right?
pop up.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We'll call you up.
All right, cool. You're talking about when that guy was texting you, he went off and he said, "Oh, you're so immature, blah blah blah." And I feel like a lot of that comes with just people assuming your age or like you're just a young person, especially in the entrepreneur world. You know, startups. Yeah, a lot of times you might feel that people aren't respecting you as much because you're young, because you're female, because you're a person of color, maybe. Does that ever happen to you, or has that ever happened to you?
Luckily, I've only had a few instances. One example is the GM at the time of the Lohilani when we first opened up in 2019. I remember coming there to meet with him, and he said, "Oh, are you by yourself?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm the owner of the company," as if someone else is supposed to be there with me.
Yeah.
And then throughout that time, a lot of the hotel employees would come to our store and they would ask, "Oh, how old are you?" And I'm like, "Man, you wouldn't ask a 30-year-old that, you know." But it drove me to really want to do well in that store and to prove ourselves. And the hotel actually asked us to stay, and we extended our lease, and it's been an amazing partnership. And so that was one instance. And I think that's why, I really try to carry myself well. I try to carry myself in a graceful and mature and intelligent way. And I think that's what helps. The jewelry helps even.
It's intimidating.
Really? No.
Like, oh, this person's so fancy. Even for me with my locals on my feet.
No, anyone and everyone is welcome in our stores, no matter how you're dressed.
Yeah.
Heelys and all. We'll welcome you.
You got me with the Heelys. I'll be there. I'm going to Heely over it right after this.
Sounds good. But other than that, I think people were very, people were known of my presence and how I carry myself. So we we don't experience that a lot at all, and we've proven ourselves as a business, and I think we've done well to prove ourselves as a business, and so now people, they really do respect us. But we did experience that a lot throughout college, my college times, and I think it's just the community. Well, we experienced that. I also experienced a lot of really amazing mentors who wanted to help and who wanted to train the next generation, and I was blessed to experience a lot more of that than people who were looking down.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I think it's amazing that we have that community here, and I think it does come with the community of how we're raised in Hawaii.
Yeah. I was just thinking that I think we grow up with a lot of diversity, with a lot of support, with a lot of that communal feel of Hawaii. So I think that's great. And I would say the same, is we had more positivity than negativity.
Yeah. Definitely.
Even when I did my race to 50K, you'd think, I'm this guy saying I'm going to do odd jobs and pay off my student loans, you think there's some hate. So I would say I got like 99% positivity.
Really? Wow, that's awesome.
And it's crazy. And it's all on social media, right? You think you're going to get some backlash. But
definitely. And especially when you put yourself out there, you're going to get that 1% backlash, but that's okay. You have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's just how the world is.
That's how the world is. Yeah.
But then the other 99% make up for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'll say there's so many more positives in this world than there are negatives.
Yeah, good. And
you just got to find them.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing, when people like yourself and Hawaiiverse do more to foster that. And so I really appreciate that.
We're trying to. We're just trying to elevate each other and uplift each other. That's what it's all about.
It's small businesses with small businesses, not against each other.
Exactly. Yes. Hawaiian supporting Hawaiians, locals supporting locals, not us trying to compete. I mean, there's, I have a friend just started a podcast, and like my first reaction is like, I'm so stoked for you. I'm not like,
awesome.
Oh no, we got competition. I'm just like, awesome. Like, good luck. I hope you guys succeed.
Yeah.
It's awesome seeing people succeed.
Yeah.
I love seeing people
succeed.
succeed.
I think we need more of that, just collaboration perspective.
Yeah. And it's cool being with Hawaiiverse and working with these local businesses. Some new, some have been in the business for a while, but seeing the growth and the journey.
Yeah.
So like when we first met, I'm just like, oh, cool, this is really awesome. Then just like following your story on Instagram and how much growth you've witnessed in the last year. And it's cool that you document it all and you write about your daily life.
I
and
try
all
to. I'm glad
things.
people like it. Sometimes
that's
I'm like,
a lot of work. That's so much work. So when you're doing that, I'm just like, oh, yeah, she's crazy. Nah, she's Kolohe. She's Kolohe. I gotta change that. I gotta stop saying that. She's Kolohe.
I'm okay with being crazy. I'm okay with it.
And the most successful people are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking about crazy, I'm sure you work a lot and you're always hustling. I totally understand the entrepreneur life. When you're so busy, how do you find that work-life balance? How do you keep yourself healthy mentally, physically, and keep your relationships healthy? How does that work for you?
It is very good now, but it wasn't always like that. And it was something that I had to go through to experience and to reflect on, like I said, and then refine. So before I would work like crazy hours, I would wake up and work, I would work late, and I just loved to do it. And I think that eventually it got to a point where it was in an unhealthy way. And so I had to really stop and reflect on that. And it got to the point where when I did have my weekends off, I felt anxious because I felt like, oh, I should be working. I should be doing something. So
relatable.
Yeah. And so I have this thing now. I call them my meditation Saturdays, where I don't plan anything on Saturday. I'm away from my phone. I just go with the flow. And I kind of I call it meditation Saturdays because it's like me applying meditation to my day and my life, not just when I'm sitting still. So I have a good schedule now where I only work like 4 to 5 days of the week. Thursday and Friday are my flex days. I'm off Saturday and Sunday. Every once in a while, I might have to help out at the store or something. We try to stick to business hours as much as we can. Of course, we're going to have to sometimes have those late conversations or early conversations. It happens. It's natural when you're an entrepreneur. And then I try to set times for things. So, for example, I love surfing. So Thursday, Friday, and on the weekends, I'll try to surf. I'll try to go to the beach, get some sun, exercise. I'm just getting now into, I was eating at like a malnourished level for a really long time. And now I'm getting into more fitness, more eating healthy. And I always think to myself, if I'm able to operate at that level when I'm like so malnourished, imagine what you could do, Rose, if you were just taking care of your body a little more, you know? And so I think it's a lot of reflection, and it's a lot of the people around me telling me like, hey, Rose, I think this would be good for you. And being open to that, like setting my ego aside and saying, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I do need to do that. And yeah, it is really hard to, you know, have time for all my family, for my boyfriend, for our puppies, but it's just really
the puppies especially.
Yeah, they're so cute.
They are.
They're so cute. But it's really being intentional about it, giving yourself that time that you know you need. So I actually love like time to myself to just re-energize. So I make sure I have at least one day where I don't plan anything, or one night at least. And then I keep it so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those are my hardcore work days. And then Thursday and Friday are kind of my flex days. They're a little more flexible. Saturday, Sunday I have off. And that's a really good schedule for me now. And what I realized is when I'm healthier in this way, it actually is also me still working, because now I can make healthier decisions about my business. And so I think when you look at it to a point of, hey, doing these things are actually good for you. They're going to help your business, versus like hustle culture or whatever you want to call it. And I think it just depends on everyone. And I think that's another stereotype of entrepreneurship. You know, they always say like, oh, you have to be working 24/7 and you're
not working a 9 to 5, you're working a 24/7.
Yeah. And that is true. And I think we've gotten to that point where, okay, we have our team now. We have people working in the store. We have people doing our manufacturing, our fulfillment. So we've earned that for ourselves. But of course, it took that setting it up. So I would never change anything. But now I learned from it, like we always keep going back to. And now I'm able to operate better. Being an entrepreneur in a business is just figuring out how to operate better and better each time. Yeah. You know, and that's okay if you don't do it the right way the first time.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. So I think just being intentional, sticking to a schedule. I love to write things out.
You got a to-do list, a board, a whiteboard, or
yeah. I'll write my to-do lists on my laptop. We have like all of our Slack channels, all of our organizational Trello boards, and then I actually like to write out my my schedule. I cannot do a calendar, Google Calendar. Yeah. I hate emails, so I have to like set intentional time to respond back to emails. I have to set intentional time to make, you know, my Instagram videos or things like that. So I think if you want to do it, you just have to be intentional about it.
That's good. It's something I struggle with all the time. It's after I was finished paying off my student loans, I was super burnt out.
Yes.
So a lot of things I feel like is a little triggering to me.
Yeah.
Because I was just like a robot. And yeah, at some point you don't realize like how burnt out you are.
Yeah,
after,
you're just
right?
a robot.
Yeah. So, but the hardest thing I think with always having something to do is that, or the way being an entrepreneur is you always have something to do. So it's hard to shut off. You know, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop working at 10, but I have all these things, and every time somebody invites you out, you're like, oh, I can go out, but then I'm not doing all these other things. That's the hardest part for me. Yeah,
totally. And I remember one time, like one of my mentors, I was texting him. I was like, how do we scale this business at like 11 p.m. or something? And he's like, you can't solve the problems of the world in one night. Go to sleep. And I always think about that because it's like, you know, whenever you are feeling like stressed out at the end of your night or like, oh, I have so much to do. It's like, you're always going to have that much to do. You know, worrying about today isn't going to do anything. Worrying about tomorrow isn't going to do anything. Yeah. And so I think I've come to grow to the fact that being an entrepreneur, you're just solving problems. You're always going to have to solve problems.
Even your own.
So it's okay to not worry about them, and you'll just take care of them later on.
Yeah. It's a process. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah, it's always a work in progress, and I am nowhere near you know, anything of where I want to be. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah. I think having a schedule or almost like a routine is actually very helpful because I try to do my majority of my work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's kind of more of a lighter day, and then I try not to work on the weekends unless you have to. Yeah. You know, there's certain things that come up. Yeah. But I've been trying to do more surfing. Yes. More. I just got into a soccer league. Just pulled my groin, so I'm getting old. I have to do more yoga.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I've been trying to incorporate yoga into my everyday
Yoga is so
practice.
healthy
Yeah,
for you.
I love
and
yoga.
Stretching and yeah.
Especially when you're 28.
Yeah.
I feel like after 26, it's all downhill
Oh
from
no,
there.
don't say that.
No, you'll be fine.
Well, you look good.
Thank you. It's the Asian.
Yeah.
We've said
Good
it before.
genes.
Asian, don't raisin.
Yep.
Yeah. We're good. Yeah, I'm Japanese and Korean, along with Hawaiian, Portuguese, all that.
That's
So we're
an
all mixed
amazing
plates,
mix.
right?
Yeah.
Same as you. You said you were Portuguese. You're Portuguese. Some other ones. Yeah.
Good mix.
Yeah. We also got the Portuguese, so we can talk a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I could go on and on talking. Sometimes I talk way too much.
That's what the podcast is for.
Yes.
We just hope people love listening. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the podcast. I like to ask this to all my guests. What is one thing that you wish people knew about you that they don't know?
I wish people knew about me. Ooh, that's a good question.
Only the best questions here on the Hawaiiverse podcast.
Yeah, you did a really good job at asking all those questions. What is one thing I wish people knew about me that they don't know? That I'm not just a robot. I don't just work. Whenever I see everyone, they're always like, oh, you're so busy, or like, oh, you're so stressed out all the time. I'm like, no, I have a lot of downtime. I showcase my business life on Instagram naturally. You know, it's for mostly business reasons. But I do have my life. And not everything you see on Instagram is the whole story, you know? So I think understanding that when you do see people succeed, there is always going to be, you know, their story and their separate side. I have a quiet side. You know, I love just sitting at home, meditating, journaling, reading a book, something. And I'm a very spiritual being. So I'm not just this like crazy workaholic lady, which I love being. I love being the two roles.
But you can switch it on and off.
Yeah. And I think knowing that, you know, I still have this, I still have that human relatability side to me. And I always will. And I think, yeah, that's a good question. What would your answer be?
Oh, nobody's ever asked that.
Really? Whoa.
I mean, on the podcast, at least.
Yeah.
What is one thing? I think, I don't know if maybe people know this, but I'm not introvert. I'm a homebody. I'm a very, very, very simple guy. Like, I don't buy things. I don't really go out. I'm just very content with everything that I have. You could put me in a corner.
Very stoic.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I just wish the best for everybody. Like, I really love when people succeed. I just want everybody to be happy. I want everything to be pono. I wish there was peace and love everywhere in the world. Yeah. So, I would like to say, it feels weird saying, like, I'm a really good guy.
Yeah.
But, like, I honestly
just
am,
want
like,
the best.
I just want the best for everybody. And that's why I love having people on the podcast, so I could just, brag about them and showcase how awesome these people are to the rest of the world. So, I would say I'm just a very simple guy. I just want people to be happy and, and I have to keep myself happy as well. But, local
That's
boy.
amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Just want to surf, play sports, watch football on Sundays, and then do all my work in between all of that.
Just take care of your work and enjoy your time.
Yeah. And I love my family too. I'm sure you do as well. You have a lot of siblings, and they're all named. All their names start with R's.
Ours
right?
aren't yours, Case?
No, we're all Hawaiian names.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think because you Kolohe and Kamaka. Yeah. Oh, I guess.
I think she was telling me. Yeah.
I guess they're our kid, but then I have Micah and Lei.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy story about my siblings and my family. So Micah is my older brother. Lei is my younger sister. Okay, this is gonna be hard to follow. Okay, I hope you can follow this. Okay, get your pen and notepad ready. Okay, so Micah is married to his wife Lei. Ha'ahel. So her name is Lei. My sister's name is Lei.
Yes.
My sister Lei, her boyfriend is this guy Malu. My sister Kanoe, her boyfriend's name is Malu. Malu's sister is named Kanoe.
What the heck? Oh my god.
Both Malu's moms are named Pua.
That's crazy.
So we have all these doppelgangers.
Yeah.
And then
it's just meant to be.
Kanoe is named after my uncle Kanoe. And then my stepdad, his name is Kaloa. His nephew's named Kaloa as well. So we have all these just doppelganger names.
Wow, that's going to be so confusing at your family parties.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
Kanoe, we have so many Kanoe.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of my family too.
Yeah.
So my dad is Ron. My mom is Raquel. There's Ron Jr., Riley, Ramsey, Royce, Rose, Reina, Rema, Rizea. At the youngest is Rizea. My mom ran out of names, so she
just put an R in front of Isaiah.
Yeah, she took a Bible name, Isaiah. She just put an R, and he is the coolest name out of all of us.
It is cool. It's unique. I love unique names.
And then my brother Riley got married to a Rochelle, who is very similar name to my mom Raquel, and everyone on her family are all R's too.
Wow.
So it's very similar to you, but I've never met another family like that. And yeah, I mean, when you asked me, Rose, what's the coolest thing? You said you like to ask all of your podcast hosts, what's the coolest thing about you? And honestly, the first thing I thought of was my family. I was like, I think my family's the coolest thing about me. You know, they're my storyline. My sisters are amazing. They have a business of their own called Our Planet.
They're very impressive as well.
Yeah, it's a very amazing initiative and very amazing business. And yeah, my family is just awesome. And so I think that's the coolest part about me. Sorry.
No, I love that. I think ohana is so important here. And yeah, I think especially in relationships, a lot of the times people get, the other significant other gets close with the family. And like my ex-girlfriend would joke around with me like, oh man, I'm just gonna miss your family.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's true.
That's
and
funny.
like same, it works both ways all the time. Yeah, because sometimes the family, I guess not all the time. Sometimes people have bad relationships with other people's families, but yeah, I think family is so awesome that it leaves a mark on friends, you know, relationship, everybody.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's cool. It's very blessed to have a great family.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a very big blessing to have.
Oh, speaking of, you know, relationships and families, how is the dynamic with other businesses in Waikiki? Is it pretty cordial or is it pretty competitive?
It's been very cordial. In our let's see, our areas, like at Alohilani, we only have one other business there because the other two shut down. And we only have one other business. It's very supportive. And then in Waikiki Beach Walk, it's also very supportive too. We have Mahina right across the street, who those girls are amazing. It's another amazing story of someone who expanded in Hawaii. Okay. And they always send customers to us and vice versa. I always try to send customers to them.
Are they another jewelry shop?
No, they're a clothing company.
Oh, okay, cool.
Clothing company.
Oh, so buy some clothes over there. Come over here to, you know, get some décolleté.
Yeah, and so everyone in our vicinity is very supportive of each other. Like the Waikiki Beach Walk community is very supportive, and they do a lot. The landlords do a lot to bring in local businesses, actually.
Love that.
Yeah, so it's a really amazing group. In terms of, I've never experienced like competition, problems with competition.
Well, it's hard to compete with somebody when they're all the way at the top like you, Rose.
No. And there are a lot of jewelry companies in Hawaii, you know, and that's just how it is here. And so I think we have a unique perspective where we don't really, we don't necessarily see it as a competition. You know, if you're going to be a small business and a jewelry business, that's great. You know, it's small business with small business, not small business against small business. And there's more than enough people in the world for both of our businesses. It's a whole, we're just an island, but there's a whole demographic out there. And I think what's unique about all the jewelry businesses here, everyone has their specialty. So ours is the custom jewelry bar. That's what we're known for. That's what we opened our stores with. And then, you have other jewelry businesses who have different specialties like sea glass or gold dipping and things like that. So there are a lot of jewelry companies, but I think everyone needs that, like, just that mentality of it's not necessarily competition. We're all small businesses. And especially small businesses, we want to just support small businesses in the community. That's why we're a small business. So we haven't experienced anything with problems with competition. No.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And I think behind every small business, there's just family, you know. Family just trying to make it, family trying to feed their kids at the end of the day or feed their puppies. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that's what, you know, drives our business. We're not here to we have meaning and depth to our business. You know, if we were here for just the quick buck, maybe we would be a little more competitive or concerned about competition. But there's so much more to our business than that. Yeah. It's the bigger spectrum of things, and so I think that's what. I think that's what drives us. We've had it before where jewelry companies have copied us, or even people that have worked with me. You know, they started their own jewelry businesses and copied our bios or copied something about our jewelry business, and I've come to my peace with it about like it's flattering, you know, and I think everyone takes inspiration from somewhere. And so that's my whole thought on competitiveness in the space.
Awesome. I love that. That's a great way to end the podcast.
Yeah,
just aloha everyone, just love one another, be kind to one another. Something I always try to preach.
Yeah. Definitely. You do a good job doing it.
Mahalo, I'm trying. So do you have anything else you want to share before we start ending the podcast?
No, I think that's it. You covered a lot. I know that was a lot of talking. I'm always open if anyone has any questions about entrepreneurship or what we did to start our business. You can follow my business through the links that Kamaka's going to post about.
And tell us your socials.
Sure. Mine is going to be at Rosie Hope, ROSIEE. Hope is my middle name. Rose is my real name. Only my family calls me Rosie.
Well, that's kind of cool. You have hope and faith.
Yes. Yep. Hope and faith. Definitely. And then our business Instagram is at Shop Kolohe. And so if you're in Waikiki, come check us out.
Yes,
we're right
beautiful stuff.
We're right at Waikiki Beach Walk. You can shop from our custom jewelry bar. And then we do have a location at the Alohilani Resort too. And I think just to end, I would just say, you know, what Kamaka said is just support each other and do your best in like growing your business and being a voice in the community and showcasing to others that it is possible to do these things.
And you're a perfect example of all of those things. Keep hustling and keep doing what you do. You're going to take over the world at some point. You're going to be president.
Oh my gosh,
like that. No. You're only, 23 right now?
23, yeah.
23. Oh, I can't even imagine what you'll be doing in 5, 10, 20 years.
We'll see. I'm going to have to interview you one day for a podcast.
We'll see. Yeah. We just got to put in the work first.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, very impressive. I'm very honored to have you on the podcast. Mahalo for taking time out of your busy day to come over here and talk stories.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kamaka.
Yeah. Mahalo, Rose, for joining us on the Hawaiiverse podcast. Check us out on Hawaiiverse.com, the best place to support local. Spread aloha, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. New episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka, and you will hear me next time on the Hawaiiverse podcast. Hui ho. I'm going to Healy out this time.
Healy out. Oh my gosh.